Hi everyone, so today we'll do a stock analysis on Vale SA, ticker Vale, VALE, and it's a leading iron ore mining company. Quick disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor, this is my own research, up to you to make your own decision. So we'll start with a company profile, so we're going to look at the company, where the mines are and how the company is set up. Then we'll look at fundamental analysis, so a lot of ratios and reserve and all that. Then we'll do a technical analysis and a price catalyst, whether it's an interesting time to buy or not. And then we'll finish with a conclusion, whether the company is interesting or not to invest in. So here is a start with the company profile. So Vale SA is actually, they do mainly iron ore, and then as well they do nickel and copper pretty much internationally. So the company actually has two segments, iron solution and energy transition. The iron solution is basically all the iron ore and extract iron ore and pellets and other ferrous products. We're gonna talk about pellets and iron ore a bit later to get an idea what it is. And then the second is the energy transition materials. I think it's a fancy name, but it's mainly the nickel and copper production, and then they have byproducts as well, like gold, silver and cobalt and other precious metals. So it's got 65,000 employees, and then it was founded in 1942 in Brazil. So before we get started into knowing more about the company, I wanted to talk about what is iron ore and what are pellets. So the iron ore is the rock you have in there. So it's pretty much like a rock you probably find in mountains, I guess. I've seen some somewhere. So it's a raw material and primary iron oxide, and it's used for iron and steel. So the pellets are pretty much a process from iron ore, and it's the goal is to make steel making and like blast furnace or direct reduction plants. And the way it's actually done is pretty much they put it into small spherical balls, and then after harden them with the heating process. So I wanted to talk about that article that I found on Investopedia. I mean, what I wanted to show was that I didn't realize, but Vale was actually the top 10 companies, biggest mining companies, and it's actually top 5. So I didn't expect it was that big actually. When I started the research, I thought it was like a medium company, but it's pretty huge. So that's something to bear in mind. So I was a bit struggling to figure out how the mines were separated, like how many mines were in Brazil and overseas, and I got something through AI that helped me a lot. So it's pretty much what I noticed is that the major countries where they mine is Brazil, Canada and Indonesia. They have some other location like Malaysia, Oman and United Kingdoms, but it's apparently way smaller. And if I understand it right, the Brazil is where they do all the iron mining, and then Canada they do some more like nickel, and then same with Indonesia, more like nickel. So other than that, it looks a bit similar. We'll get to more detail after. So here's another slide. So I apologize, there's another slide on top of another one, but all I wanted to show again was that Brazil had 90% of the workforce. So it kind of proves my point that it seems like it's not really an international company, but it seems like Brazil has a huge part of it. But let's say the major country again, Brazil, Canada and mainly Indonesia. So everything else is like China, India and all, like the other places are apparently way smaller. So in terms of revenues, it's just confirmed my first idea. That was 83% of iron ore is actually what their revenues are, and 10% from nickel and 7% from copper. So that I took the number from here in there. So it's mainly like fines and pellets basically from iron ore. So that's to prove again that it seems to be more in Brazil, because that's where all the iron ore are, in Brazil. So the part on the Brazil iron ore is actually divided into the northern system, the southeast system, and the southern system. I won't really get too much detail, but that's where they have all their like transportation by boat in the southern system, and then like a bit more north too. So it's just an idea how it looks, but this, from what I understand, is the major mine from this company. So that's where they get the most revenue. So this is again the iron ore production in Brazil, and again with all the three parts. So they are actually 3 mines complex in each nearly. So yeah, it is quite a huge project. I mean, it's the whole country, so everywhere. But yeah, that sounds like their most important mines. This was just a quick slide to show that they keep like reinvesting their capital. So they have a lot of project pipelines in all like iron ore, nickel, and copper. So it's just to show that they ongoing growing the company. They're not just like having a few mines and then stop there. I quite like to see stuff like that. It proves that they're continuing to try to find value. And another slide to show that basic like the Novo Carrasco, if I pronounce it right. So this one is actually seems to be their major like mine, and like it's pretty much a potential to reach, I think, 10% of the global iron ore seaborne market, and they're investing further 70 billion real. So I'm guessing it's around 10 billion to 15 billion USD in the next 5 years. I don't actually have much to say about the shareholder in this one. I saw that the directors own nearly nothing. I'm guessing the company is big, so it's hard to really know how many shares they own, but I found hard to figure out the data from that. So I will just show the major shareholders. So BlackRock, Mitsui & Co, Privy, and apparently the treasury. So 73% is others. I'm guessing a lot of other things. Hard to know, but at least you get an idea. This is just a parenthesis on decarbonization. I don't really like this because I never understand what that really means. So they're really into like all these kind of fancy stuff that they are nowadays when they do in mines, and when they are big companies they try to make themselves look less bad. I don't know why, but anyway, mines are needed in my opinion. I'm not sure why they're trying to say that they will not use any carbon. I don't even know if it's possible or not, but that's never really a good thing for me, although they are so big that I get why they have to kind of justify themselves, I guess. So let's look at the fundamental analysis. So the company market cap is 43.2 billion. The P is around 6, so 4 to 6 over the past 2 years. Then the price to book is 1.2 and enterprise to revenue 1.5. I mean, all these numbers are very cheap overall, considering it's a big corporation. Then in terms of return on asset and equity, it's fine, nothing major, but not bad. Revenue is 200 billion. I think this is like real, so it might be something like 40 billion US. And then same with the cash and the debt, but let's keep it simple. It's 51% debt to equity. I don't think it's great. I would prefer less debt, but you know, might be justified. And leverage, free cash flow might be around 4 billion, which is fairly good. And then yeah, the insider so that's why I didn't really care to look too much, because 0.01%, it's insignificant if the manager buy or not. I mean, could be, but I couldn't find much about that. And 17% in held by institution, and then the so they say 14% in dividend. I don't know if it's that high, but then payout ratio of 60%. It looks like pretty good. So in here, all I wanted to show was actually the fact that their debt was like in Yahoo Finance was actually in real and not in US dollars. So to prove the debt, the gross debt is 15 in 2024, so it's 15 billion US. So that's like 1/3 of the company. And yeah, I'm not sure about these details. I will keep it around 15 billion. And here is their investment. So capital like expenditure, but it's in real, so I have to mix them up. But it's 5.9 billion in 2024 that they're planning to invest. It's definitely a huge investment, I feel, like compared to the size of the company. That might be a good thing. I quite like that they are reinvesting and growing, because like the more project they have, the more valuable the company is. So this is their goal that they want to do with the capital allocation. So they want to like reinvest. As you can see, their capex is very high for 2025, which I don't mind. I think it's good. So they want to focus on dividend and buyback as well, and then keep a strong liquidity. As you can see on the right, the debt, so they try to maintain between 10 to 20 billion in debt. At the moment, they are nearly on the 20 billion part at 18. So of course, that's just 16 billion net debt, and then I think they have gross debt, and then they have a 4 billion in cash, so that's 12 million net debt. So yeah, I still think that I don't want that to go way higher, because I think like that's already quite a lot, in my opinion. But yeah, anyway, if it's used efficiently and grow the company significantly in the next few years, why not? So now let's look at the cost of production. So I find that always very important to look at that. So for the iron ore in the company has, so I always will call the all-in. I want the worst case scenario more than the best. So their cost is around 55 in 2024, and planning to be around 53 to 50 to 55 basically. I mean, it doesn't look like it's going to change much. And the current price is at 96 per ton. So we'll see later that it's actually fairly low at the moment in the last 5 years. So they're still profitable around like 40%. And then after they have the copper. So the copper is around 2,600, but might get to 3,700 in the next 2 years. And the cost at the moment, I mean the revenue that could be getting from copper is 9,500 to 9,800. So yeah, that's like 4 times, nearly 3 times something, and it might get to 2 to 3 times over the next 2-3 years, but it's still very profitable. The worst is nickel. It's 15,400, and it seems like they just started and they're trying to optimize the cost. So at the moment, the current price is 14,800 per ton. So I would say they're not really profitable. So I think they're trying to fix that in the next few years by the look of it. But yeah, I thought that pretty much nickel is the only one where they're not profitable. And I think they could be in the next 2 years. But iron ore and copper, they're very profitable. So this is already pretty good, considering most of their revenue come from iron ore, and then let's say with copper it's maybe 90% or 85 or something. So it's pretty good. So in here I wanted to talk about iron ore reserve for the company Vale. So they have approximately 3,700 million tons in reserve that have been proven. So the grade is 55.9. I don't really know the grade, to be honest with you, but I'm just giving you a rough idea, and I'm trying to stay as conservative as possible. So let's say out of 3,700 million tons at $96 per ton, we're having around like 355 billion, and I'm saying that we have a 30% margin compared to the cost. So I only took like 106 billion in reserves. It's not that much actually, it's only 2 to 3 times, but they have a lot of probable reserve as well of 8,000. So yeah, let's say 2-3 times I thought it would be more compared to what I see in coal. So let's see what they have in the copper and nickel. Bear in mind that when I was talking about 2-3 times, that was 2-3 times the market cap. So which is still pretty good, but like a bit less than what I've seen in other companies in other area. But let's look at nickel and copper, because I actually got really surprised, and I don't know if my numbers are completely wrong because it seems ginormous. So the proven in copper is 280 million tons. So if I read that correctly, their copper reserve is actually so 200 million ton at 9,500, like basically how much they can make today. That would means like 2,660 billion of revenues, which sounds ridiculous. I mean, I don't understand why is that high. I don't know if I've made a mistake. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I even took only a 30% margin, even though they have more than 50%, and I still get like 780 billion. That's like easy 15 times their market cap, which I think is huge. So I don't know if actually displays literally on copper and then you buy the company, you thinking that it's iron ore, and actually they're actually saving a lot of copper, which could make them really rich in the future if copper continue to rise, because the price of copper has been rising a lot recently. And the nickel part is similar. Like I've been surprised, they have like 2,424 billion, but because their cost is too high, they make zero. So I said zero. It might be losing a little bit actually, but still like that sounds enormous. So that surprised me. I didn't expect that, considering I thought I would look at an iron ore company with selling only iron ore, and then now I see a nickel and copper reserve where they're not even selling them. So that looks very interesting. If someone knows more about that, I'm curious to know. Thanks. So now let's look at the balance sheet. So in here, as you can see, is what I was a bit concerned is their debt is a bit like liabilities are higher than their equity. Don't really like that, to be honest. Not my favorite part. Then you can see that the total debt is there compared to their equity. So it seems to be the opposite of what I'm seeing in the other. I'm not sure what I'm mistaken with. But yeah, and the cash around there. So, and then like the balance sheet overview is like basically pretty stable. And always data has been a bit higher than the equity. And I found the current assets a bit concerning. I mean, like this last year was very, very close. I like when the current asset is actually much higher than current liabilities, because otherwise you could have liquidity issues. So yeah, this is a bit concerning in my opinion. That's why I would say they should, in my opinion, reduce a bit their debt to be more safe. And then I would prefer the company like that. In terms of revenues, they've been going down, but I'm guessing it's related to the iron ore price, which we'll see later. They have so their cash flow has been reduced and their expenditures stayed maintained. So yeah, I mean, this hopefully iron ore will come back up, but it's definitely probably why the company is that cheap. And then like the share issued, so they have been reduced from over 5 billion to 4.4. So I quite like that. That's a tick. That's good. So in terms of technical analysis, on the monthly, so Vale, the stock, I would say it's in discount, but it's still on the downtrend. So like in here, I was actually expected it will kind of go up from there, but it's kind of broke down the downside, and now it's kind of setting around $8 to $10, $9 to $10. So yeah, like over the past 20 years, pretty much the price of 2006. So I'm not sure what the fundamentals were at that time, but yeah, it's definitely looked cheap, even in old time. Only in 2015 it was cheaper pretty much. So on the daily, it seems to be stopping the downtrend. So as you can see, the downtrend here is pretty clear. They tried to attempt to break here, but then it fell, and now it seems to be like setting, like there seems to be like a $10 kind of like barrier at the moment, and it tried to break here, but like, to be honest, we not confirmed yet, because it would really need to push much higher, like to 12 for me to change my mind. 11 or 12 at the moment. At this, it could easily fall back down. The only thing I like is that liquidity there, like it took a nice like down and then started going back up. So it's nice little start, but still, like, I would love to see a bit more upside. So now let's look at the iron ore and copper. So I would mainly look at iron ore, because that's pretty much where all the revenues come from, in case I made a mistake on my reserve. So the iron ore at the moment is pretty much at all-time low, to be honest. Like, it's been like only up higher in 2000, lower in 2020, or below. I actually think it's a really good price at 95. So that's why Vale looks so cheap in a way, if you look at it. So there's a high chance that actually it rise, but I don't expect anytime soon. At the moment, still like slowly going down. It might actually continue for a bit. Yeah, if it start to rise up to 125 or more, I will start thinking that this will probably look good, but at the moment it's still going down. And then copper is the opposite. It actually broke out as the all-time high at the moment. So I have no idea if my reserve on copper, what I've done, is genuine or not, and that's why I don't want to rely only on that. But if they have that much on reserve, I actually think that, considering how copper is doing now, it could be just a play for copper, even though it's an iron company. So that's how I see it. So overall for today, I want to say that the company looks fairly cheap in terms of valuation, and good fundamental overall, although the debt is a little bit high. So what I would say especially is that the cost of the price, like the shares, look pretty bad. I think it's because of iron ore, because like that's where all the profit come from. So that's what the thing is. Would iron ore continue to fall, or would actually start rising again? So we won't know until it does. So at the moment, it look like a risk. So if you buy now, it in a way it's cheap, but you have a risk that iron ore might stay low for a while. I think they are profitable, so it doesn't matter. You get your dividend and stuff, so it's not a big deal, but still just something to consider. And the company is not really international in a way, because more than 80% of their profit is actually in Brazil. So the big plus that I've noticed is the big copper and nickel reserve, if my calculations are right, but I haven't really seen it anywhere. So I don't know if it's just me that made a mistake or not, but it says just a little bonus. Let's say that I'm wrong. It's a little bonus on top that is free. And then like yeah, so I don't know, all-time low, and then yeah, the stock price still like going down. So yeah, overall I would say it's kind of wait and see, and try to learn more about the company and see whether to invest or not. I don't have anything apart from a little option on it, but it's just I don't have a position, like and I'm just wondering if I should or not. It looked like an interesting but I think it could actually come later. So I think it's a potential company to look into, maybe in the next 6 months to 1 year, depending on the price and everything. So I will keep it in my watch list. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and see you in the next video.